think it's just really like asking yourself questions and like really digging into the data, looking at like where the traffic came from, what was it like in comparison to previous launches, what went wrong, what happened, is it that you were driving the wrong people to it, was it that the people you were driving to it just weren't engaged anymore? It still is a chaotic mess to an extent. Launches are messy. I think you just have to really listen to your audience, your intuition, and mould it around that. We're working today from a cafe. This is FAA HQ2. Still working on launch stuff. We're focusing on sales copy, launch emails, finishing off some workshop stuff. So yeah, the conversations today are going to be all around really actual enrollment open. Well, I think when you do a launch, you're kind of like totally immersed in marketing. So like the whole focus becomes like marketing, how you're going to make it the most successful launch, which is really helpful because if you're open all the time, your focus is dispersed between, say, marketing, operations, keeping your customers happy, like all these different things, which then makes your marketing efforts less effective. So a launch helps because you literally go all in with marketing. And I think it's helpful because you're doing something to add loads and loads of value to your audience in the run up to the launch, so then you're creating a real buzz around what you're doing. You're creating a buzz as well because if it's not open all the time, people then are really excited to join when it finally is open. So it's that anticipation. And then it also, because you're closing, it creates that scarcity, as in like, I have to make a decision now, am I in or am I out? So it gets people to actually think, do I really want to be part of this or do I not? And then it gets them to make a decision, because often like, if there's not a deadline, people won't make a decision and they'll just forget about it. So it's really helpful from that perspective too. So those are, I think, the main benefits of like having a launch as opposed to open all the time. I think both can work well. I just think they're different approaches. The bigger your audience is, the more successful a launch is going to be. For example, if you did a launch and then you weren't going to do another one till the next quarter and you only got like 5 people signed up, then you're a bit screwed. So if you've got a smaller audience, I might say try and build it up until you know you can try and do a launch where you're going to get however many members you would be happy to have within that quarter, or however frequently you're going to launch. Well, in the run up to a launch, you've got to be doing stuff to create lots of engagement, which starts months before the launch. So really building up engagement on social media, through your emails, by sending really valuable content, and then closer to the launch, maybe like a month or 2 months out, having like a freebie that you can, like for example, we've just started promoting the visibility freebie that we've got because it links into the challenge. So again, like getting that out there, warming up the audience, creating value, helping them lots, and then instead of just doing like, hey, we're open for enrollment, come and join us. Typically we do like a workshop, or this time we're doing a free challenge that will then, the goal will be to get as many people into the challenge, enjoying the challenge, getting results from the challenge as possible, so they can see what it would be like to be part of the membership, and then offer them the chance to join the membership, and then we'll go into enrollment open. So it's kind of like warm the audience up, do a little bit more to warm the audience up by creating a freebie and really focusing on that. Do something like a challenge or workshops or a video series, open enrollment, close enrollment, do your investigating as to why people didn't sign up. Yes, there's definitely like a bit of a formula. I think it's just there's so many moving pieces. I think when you've got a launch, it's just like trying to get really organised with knowing what the full picture looks like what the bird's eye view of the launch is, and then what all the moving pieces are within each phase of the launch, and then just getting really organised with everything so that you can get it done. Because there are a lot of things to think about. So that's in Asana, like everything's like kind of mapped out, and it's really helpful. We have our projects, we always have important information at the top, so launch overview, where the project folder is, important links, so the launch map, email plan, Slack channel that we're going to be talking in for the launch, measures of success, our Graphly dashboards where we track all of our data. So like all the most important stuff, like just quick links, quick access to everything goes up here, they're all just references. So then obviously the first phase is the planning phase, so then we kind of like build out what we need to like talk about in terms of planning. And then the pre-launch, so we're doing the challenge, so all the tasks relating to the challenge are in here. And then the mid-launch, all the tasks relating to that, and then post-launch. So like send launch feedback form to the team, where we basically at Ari will ask everyone on the team like, how, like, a series of questions to get their feedback on, like, internally how we did with the launch and like what we could improve. And then like all the post-launch reporting, the support, everything that we need is here for the launch. But it's not like when I used to do launches by myself, it was just a chaotic mess. I mean, it still is a chaotic mess to an extent. Launches are messy. There has to be some degree of like flexibility, because like that's when your intuition kicks in, and I almost feel like a launch has like an energy, and you have to like tune in to like that feel of the energy and like be flexible to creating something or tweaking something or changing something. Like it can't just be rigid, like here's the set template and we're going to do this every launch, because it doesn't work. Like I think you just have to really listen to your audience, your intuition, and mold it around that. I feel like it's important to add, like, this is our whatever number launch. Like, I don't know how many launches we've done a lot. Like when we first did launches and it was just me, myself and I, like it obviously was totally different. And I mean, I'm still a headless chicken, but I was even more of a headless chicken right then. I literally think I had like everything listed out in a Word document, like what I needed to do. I think it's just like understanding the phases of the launch, and then you can break down your tasks within that. But I think having all that information, that is important for us now that we've got so many people working on the launch. But when it's just you or a really small team, I think it's just better to keep it as simple as you possibly can. And I feel like I always still try and reinforce that with projects, like let's just keep it as simple as possible. But like, I don't know, I wouldn't want someone to see that and freak out thinking, oh my God, that's nothing like how I launch. Because like, obviously everyone, like it just evolves as you go. And my launches used to just be lastminute.com. Like I'd just be doing everything at the last minute, and I think is absolutely fine, because then you feel your way into the launch. And I think sometimes you have to go through that. It's good to have them where they're not perfectly planned out, because then you're feeling it and going with it as you're in the launch. And I think that's often where how you can create the most success with it. And I think it also comes back to the whole thing of don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. I think it's just really like asking yourself questions and like really digging into the data. So like looking at like email open rates, email click-through rates, how much traffic you drove to the sales page, what the conversion was, looking at like where the traffic came from, what was it like in comparison to previous launches. Is it a good conversion rate? Like if you normally your sales page converts at like 30% and now it's converting at 10%, like what went wrong, what happened? Is it that you were driving the wrong people to it? Was it that the people you were driving to it just weren't engaged anymore? So I think it's just like knowing the data helps then, because then you can start thinking, and why did this happen? And then obviously, and then asking. So for example, with the last launch, we sent out a survey and asked people like, why didn't you join? What was the reason? And just like ask loads of questions to try and understand like what happened. And so yeah, I think it's a combination of just investigating the data, asking yourself questions, and keep digging, and then also asking your audience, so that you can really understand the situation. I think with the launch, like the main things are obviously those different phases of the launch, like pre-launch, launch, post-launch. And then the main things are like copy, so your emails you're going to send, your social media posts you're going to write, sales page copy, the welcome copy, and then you've got your graphics, so graphics for any email graphics, any social media graphics, building out your sales page, so like the graphics for that. And then obviously like tech setup, so like actually setting up your emails, making sure obviously like the payment, all that stuff is all working. So like making sure everything's tested, tracking, so like even using Google Analytics is helpful just to make sure you've got some kind of tracking. And then obviously if you've got any Facebook ads you're doing or Instagram ads, so obviously the graphics or the videos for that. Planning out like what you're going to offer people during the launch, how you're going to communicate in the launch in terms of like any Facebook lives, Instagram lives, videos that are going out on social media. So I feel like it's just thinking about those things really, and thinking about if I was seeing this launch unfold as a viewer, how would I be compelled to want to get involved? And I think just kind of putting yourself in the shoes of the person on the receiving end, in your audience's shoes, and thinking about how what you're putting out is coming across. Like, are you communicating it clearly? Would it make sense to them? Because I think sometimes, especially when we work by ourselves, it's easy for us to get stuck thinking about things in our own point of view and not actually realising that our audience don't get that because they're not in our heads and they don't know what we know. So even if you have like a friend check it over and ask them, does this make sense to you? Like, would you understand this if you knew nothing about me and my business? Would you understand this? So I think if you just focus on those areas, you can just keep it really simple and it doesn't have to be, there's nothing more than that really.